Welcome everyone to the Health Hub with Dr. T. As you know, I'm Dr. T. Today, I think we're going to have an amazing discussion. We're talking about men and mental health. I always give a disclaimer, but they're not doctors. However, they do not represent every man in America, Nigeria, and all around the world. The information that they are giving is based on their personal experiences and just what they've been through. So thank you, all three of you guys, for saying yes immediately when I asked and being open to this conversation about men and mental health. I'm going to try to go one at a time just so that we're not all speaking at the same time. That way, whatever you all are saying can be heard. We have Solomon, who is a dear friend of mine, who really supports this live and is on other lives and always talking about his opinions and his thoughts. And that's why I thought you'd be a perfect fit for this. We have Nate, who I've known since I think high school, right?
Yep.
And I don't know, I see you as someone who has a family, who is working, who is growing. And I'm just kind of like, I want more. I want to understand more about you, right? I mean, I'm more on a platform, but I want to get to know you more. And then we have Daryl, who I am meeting for the first time today, but comes highly recommended from Nate. So I'm excited to have you three here. Thank you all so much for saying yes. Thank you all so much for being open, well, willing to be open to talk about men and mental health. I'm going to start with Solomon and just doing a brief introduction. Do you have families? What do you do for work? Just general, nothing too deep, general information about yourself.
Okay. Well, name is Solomon. I live in Houston, Texas. I'm actually very good friends with Tommy. I've been friends with the family for what, about 13, 14 years now. Tommy's brother is actually one of my best friends, someone I respect a lot. A slight business partner also, my advisor. Um, I was born in Nigeria, been in Houston since 2006. Um, Guys, by the way, I'm very informal. I just like to freestyle.
Yes.
So as things come to my head, I'll just speak. Um, both parents, I grew up with them in Nigeria. Mom passed, dad is still there. Uh, Dad is somewhat Lebanese, so that's why you see my name says Niger Lebanese. Dad is somewhat Lebanese. But of course, I'm very in tune with the Nigerian side of me. Um, But anyway, I'm glad to be here. I'm ready for us to, have this conversation, which has been something on my mind for a while. So thank you, Tommy, for having me.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. All right, Nate, just a brief introduction.
Gotcha. Nate Agbatola, myself too. I myself is not. I'm Nigerian, 100%, but differently. I was born here in the U.S. I like to say that I am a family man. I'm a father of two and a husband as well. And as a professional, I'm into the oil field with, let's say, instrumentation sales.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And Daryl?
My name is Daryl Blackburn. Not Nigerian. I'm not sure
If I caught that.
if you could tell. Now, born and raised in Houston. I'm a petroleum engineer, 15 or so year practicing petroleum engineer. Um, my wife Deshauna and I've been married 8 years.
Wow, wow.
We have two little girls, 3 and 1.
Ooh.
And so yeah, we're also in the thick of it. Not too different from Nate, and so I've known Nate probably 5 or 6 years now, something like that. Um, yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that introduction. And I think when thinking about this panel, I wanted similarities but difference, right? Obviously, you're all similar because you're all men. but your backgrounds are different, and I think that's what I wanted. That was my goal, because even if your background were the same, how you work things out, or your mental state will definitely still be different, let alone for someone who was born in Nigeria and raised here, someone who was born here, raised here, and someone who's not even Nigerian. So I think there's a lot that we're going to learn from you three today, and I'm excited to kind of get started. So it's definitely informal, as we did not practice anything, right? I didn't send you guys questions. So we're really just having a living room conversation is what we're having here.
Mhm.
I want to talk about just mental health. What do you guys think, or when you guys think of the word mental health, do you guys even think that men have to deal with mental health? I know it sounds so silly, but when you guys heard, for those like Solomon, when you moved here and you started hearing about people talk about mental health, how did you feel about that? Nate, when you lived here, as you've been raised here, when did you actually start hearing the word mental health? And same thing for you, Daryl. So we'll go in that order of introduction so that we all can be heard.
Yeah, okay. So I'm just gonna dive in real fast. Well, growing up as an African kid, and I think most African kids can relate to this, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, for the men, it's almost like you are taught to be strong, right?
Mm-hmm.
In every situation. And the flip side is that it's seen as a sign of weakness when you're not strong as a
Mm-hmm.
man, regardless of what you're going through. So, you would even have little things like you go to a soccer pitch, right? And something happens on the soccer pitch, and you run out thinking, okay, here is my dad or my mom who is supposed to protect me. And halfway through you running, they look at you and say, no, 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 go back, yeah, man. Like little things like that. Um, and to be honest with you, it's so crazy because I was having this conversation with one of my doctors recently that I worked with. And I was having this conversation with him, and I told him, I said, it's so funny because in Nigeria, I don't think we do a lot of diagnosis with like bipolar disorders and stuff like that, right? But then there are many people running around there. You can see them and tell something is wrong. Now, with
Right.
that being said, um, I just want to say that mental health is real, and I don't think that, and I'm speaking again as an African kid, and I'll try to speak about other things. I don't think it's something taken seriously where I come from, particularly Nigeria. Um, I feel like, you know, just grow up, go to school, make it, provide, in that order, right?
Right.
Grow up, go to school, make it, provide, and have a family. You know, there's never a situation of, hey, it's okay to speak up if something is wrong. It's okay to express yourself to us if you feel a certain way, so that you would only express yourself to even your parents or your family if you were doing things successfully, like you passed your exams in school, you bought something big, you bought a car, you bought a house. But I don't think as a kid, um many of us could actually walk up to our parents and speak about our weaknesses, our struggles, and things we were mentally going through. I don't remember. Now, luckily for me, I grew up with different parents, but I still want to speak as an African child. With my
Right.
parents, I could do it, but I know for a fact that many kids couldn't do it, right? And so I just want to mention that it is true. Mental health is real, and honestly, it's a huge pandemic. Narrowing it down particularly to Africa, of course, it affects men all over the
All
world.
over.
But
Right.
I want to speak solely as an African kid growing up. Then I would, when we get to other segments of this conversation, I'll speak about my
Okay.
experience as I grew up.
Okay. Thank you for that. Nate, what about you? You grew up here.
I
You were born here,
I
you
did.
know?
Um,
Mhm.
I say I agree. Mental health is absolutely real. It's something that is a new topic. I do believe social media had, and just say that this new generation has brought it to the forefront. But as a kid growing up, I don't think we realize that, for men at least, that mental health is in comparison to success.
Right.
So we have to sacrifice mental health in order to be successful.
Mm.
That's kind of what I feel, even as an American kid growing up in a Nigerian household. I had the same stress that Solomon was talking about, as there's nothing but perfection that's expected. But in order to be perfect, there are some mental damaging that happens that you have to go through, that is normalized.
Mm.
And I do believe that not until I became older um, that I started to see how this affected me as a person. It's affected how I love, how I talk, how I empathize, how
Mm.
I treat others. Um, it is something that is valued, but at the same time can be painful, as
Mm.
far as how you, I guess you can say, interpret and then also deliver, based off of what mental health stresses that have impacted you. So
Mm.
that's probably my explanation around mental health.
I'm gonna pin, and I think someone just wrote it in a chat, and I hope I remember it, where you said you have to sacrifice your mental health in order to be successful. We're definitely gonna dive more into that, but I want to give Daryl a chance to kind of talk about mental health. And you growing up, you're not African, you're Black American, but
Yeah.
what did mental health look like for you?
Yeah. So I think in a nutshell, and I thankfully I had some time to kind of write some notes while the
Yeah.
other guys were talking, and I probably wouldn't have been able to come up with this as if I was, if I wasn't given that time.
Mm-hmm.
But mental health, my definition of it is the proactive sustenance of internal peace.
Mm-hmm.
And the proactive sustenance of internal peace, basically, that is that humans are machines. Men specifically, we're machines. And just like a car, just like a computer, um, those things require maintenance
Yes.
to sustain their life cycles, their output levels, and in order for us um, to be able to operate at our peak, at our maximum abilities, we need to maintain, like preventative maintenance, right?
Right.
And another thing I wrote is that maintenance, just like your vehicle, right? The maintenance that is required is dependent on the history of the machine. So the
Mhm.
what that machine was specifically put through will dictate the type of maintenance that it will require
Fire.
to sustain. And that works the same way with our mental health. And that is that the maintenance that I require is directly dependent on my history and is
Mm.
directly associated with the manner that I was brought up. So I was brought up single parent household. I think I have a very unique upbringing in that my parents were never married, and I'm not even sure of the nature of their relationship, but I knew both my parents and I grew up with both my parents. Um, and and it was a blessing in most ways, but I had to overcome a lot of wantedness and feelings of belonging. And I grew up in mostly black neighborhoods. I went to black schools, and being light skinned and Creole, you
Yeah.
know, I would go to schools that were 99% black, but I was the white kid,
Mm.
right? And
Mhm.
both my parents are black, and both of their parents are black.
Wow.
And so with that kind of nuance, it requires, or those are the nuance that I had to deal with as a kid, right? That belonging and trying to overcome feelings of unwantedness, right? Seeing as I went back and forth between houses, and you
Mhm.
know, and I think a lot of men, especially Black American men, can kind of understand that specific upbringing. But again, just briefly, that mental health is the proactive sustenance of internal peace, and that maintenance in order to sustain a healthy lifestyle is directly dependent. So the health that I seek in
Mhm.
my therapy is directly dependent on my specific history. And that's why I think it's so important, is that there are people that are educated and trained to be able to help me unpack
Right.
my specific history.
Wow. You're gonna have to text me that. You're gonna have to text me that so that I can add it in my captions because it's real. And I think what you all are saying are relatable, and people will be able to see it and be like, "Oh, that's how I feel," right? And I think yes, well spoken, all three of you. Let me
Can I
ask you,
add to
Daryl.
that? Sorry, can
Sorry,
I
go
add
ahead.
to that? I just want to say this.
Yeah.
Daryl's absolutely right. All of our experiences are going to be different. But as men,
Yes.
Hmm.
I will say that there is a commonality based on society
Mhm.
because society also plays a role in that stress. Because, yes, you do have your home upbringing that provides a certain amount of stress, but then you also have when you step outside, what are you seeing? What are you hearing? What's cool? What's not cool? How do I
Mhm.
fit in? How do I not get made fun of? Things of that. These are things that every child, every human goes through. That is also a stress factor that plays a role on mental health. And I will say that there are some, let's just say, uh, stereotypical expectation for men across the
Yes.
board that I can tell you I've never met Solomon before, but I guarantee you we could sit in a room and have a conversation and say, dang, your wife too? Or
Wow.
your children?
Yeah.
Or, oh, at your job, this is happening? These are things
Yeah.
that men silently normally go through. And the chance to talk is something amazing that you're doing right now, Tony, because this is not something that we pick up the phone and just do on our own.
And you know,
Yes. Go
Toby,
ahead.
I wanted to say this just to buttress this point. I'm so
Yes.
glad you said that, right? Because it's very important to clarify that when we have these conversations, right, we're not saying that every man is going through some mental illness. Some people may have just had it real good, right? But when we talk about these things, we're talking about that decent amount of number that we know went through stuff and never got any kind of help
Right.
because they were supposed to be strong all their life. I'll say this, right? I'll say that um we are not in any way, shape, or form encouraging you to raise men not to be strong. We're
Right.
just saying it's okay to be vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a huge difference because, sometimes when you say stuff like this, people are saying, well, because people sometimes hear one thing and they take it to the extreme and say, okay, well, you guys want to be, you guys want to start raising these weak boys. All right,
Oh,
cool. Let's start
yes.
raising these weak. We're
Yeah.
not saying that. What we're saying is still raise your boys to be strong, right?
Right.
However, also give that little room for them to be vulnerable. And the reason why I'm saying this is, look, I bumped into statistics, right? And I like to use statistics because that's the best way to speak to someone who is a believer and
Right.
someone who is a non-believer, right? The middle is the
The
statistics.
numbers.
What
Right.
is really happening in the world? And if you guys don't mind, I'll just go over that just for 1 second. It says men aged between 40 and 49 have the highest suicide rate, right? I'm
Yes.
sure you guys may have bumped into that. Then it goes further to say all over the world, right?
Mhm.
We've had about on a yearly basis, speaking of about, I think 2024, we had about 727,000 suicides, right?
Mm.
And about 500,000 of those were men, right? They were men, which means about 1,400 plus, right about then, die by suicide every day.
Wow.
This is just men.
Wow.
Um, and that means one man dies every 60 seconds. Again, we're not going to save the whole world. There's many
Right.
things killing different people. But what we are saying, if all you can save is one person
Right.
in 1 minute,
Yeah.
can make
You
a
saved their
difference. That's
life.
all we're saying. Yeah.
You saved their life.
So
Okay, I have so many questions. I have so many questions as a daughter. I have so many questions as a wife. I have so many questions as a sister. Because, I think I'm not speaking for all women. I am speaking for myself. But I think, when we women are about to get married, let me start with that. We hear, the man is the provider, the man is the protector, the man is
mhm,
all of this, right? In our minds, even though yes, we're submissive, we're supposed to do the house and all of this stuff. In our minds, it's almost like I didn't. Let me specifically say, I didn't really understand the amount of pressure that put on a man.
mm,
I didn't understand it until my brother said something and my husband said something randomly. We were just talking about nothing too deep. And I remember my brother saying, "You guys don't understand the pressure a man feels day in, day out." Less than like a month later, my husband and I were talking about something. He said the same thing. He was like, "I don't think women understand the pressure that we feel." And in my mind, I can't fathom or I can't understand it because I'm not a man. In my mind, I'm like, we all have pressure. It's just different pressure. But he was trying to explain to me that as a man, it's different. And so I want to know, and I'm sure us women want to know, because we want to know how, if we can understand better, we can relate better. If we understand better, we can communicate better. We over communicate as women. Oh, I'm quick to tell you how I feel. Oh, I'm upset. Da 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 da. That I can talk my feelings, but my husband just sits back, and I'm like, "Are you not feeling anything?" But he's feeling so much, right? And you guys are more nonverbal. So, what is that pressure that we women don't know that you guys feel? And how? Well, let's start with that. What is that pressure? I want to know what that pressure is. Who wants to start? That's a deep question.
I think I'll take that one. I think
Okay.
the pressure that we feel as men can be boiled down to just the desire for acceptance.
Mm,
mm,
And if that is either the acceptance from society, the acceptance from our families, from our parents. One thing I know about my Nigerian friends is their parents put a different type of pressure on them
mhm,
in their childhood. It's a pressure, and this is just a observation, but that
mm,
pressure is one where the acceptance has to be earned,
mm,
and the acceptance comes um, from some type of accomplishment. That's when you feel the most. I'm guessing here,
right.
but I bet that that's when you feel the most acceptance is when you've
Mm,
reached this a certain accomplishment. It's a little different in
yes.
my upbringing, but I feel that way at home, where I feel the most seen and accepted. And this is pressure that I put on myself. I don't even believe that my wife puts this on me,
okay.
but it's pressure that is self-inflicted.
Mm,
Um, but I feel the most seen by her when I'm the most productive, and I
mm,
feel the most seen by society when I am the most when I feel the most productive to society.
mm,
But that pressure is just like in everyday, in actual physics. Although pressure carries weight, it's invisible,
yes. Mm,
um, and it's deadly, but it's invisible at the end of the day. And I think that in the same sense, the pressure that we feel as men in society is this invisible, self-inflicted um, weight, you know, as we search for acceptance. It's I think it's that simple.
so is that fair to us?
Mm,
I can jump in on that
Okay, jump
because
in,
yeah,
jump
please.
in.
I'm listening to Daryl, and at the same time, I'm looking at the counter, and I'm saying, and Daryl's not wrong at all.
Hmm.
Daryl's absolutely right, but the counter is women have a stress that we can't see as well, and it comes in a different form. So it's
Yes.
not us saying that we carry so much weight and you do nothing. It's we carry so much weight that involves so much.
Mm,
Although a woman still carries a lot of weight,
right.
I know that a woman's weight is it's positioned in a different manner.
Yes.
You know, we talk about just in traditional homes. What Daryl described is called being a man in general. That's
Yeah.
what we call it.
Yeah.
Being a man, taking on all of those things because that's when someone is proud of you. If
Mm,
someone's not proud of you, you can you're not beating your chest. You're not a man now. If your parents aren't proud of you, if your family ain't proud of you, if your wife's not um, proud of you and looking towards you, if your children aren't looking at you, these are all things that are uncontrollable for a man. These are other people's feelings that we are looking to change,
mm,
to look at us in a certain way. I would say a woman's stress is more on the endearing side, keeping
yeah.
the family together and things of that nature. Traditionally, let me say that because now we do have working women that also carry some of the traditional
Yes.
men stresses. So it changes in so many ways to where ultimately I, I don't think that there is a battle as far as who stresses more. I think both sexes have, you know, stress that equal mental health issues. You know, you talk about postpartum. Those
Mhm.
are big things for women. We know nothing about it.
Oh, I just saw on TikTok somebody said yesterday that men do suffer from postpartum.
So what I was going to say is
100%.
we know nothing about
100%.
it. We know nothing about it in your light as a
Oh,
woman.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
Hmm.
reactive postpartum for us.
Yeah.
We're
Hmm.
reacting to a woman's
Yes.
postpartum depression, which
Hmm.
can drag a man down, which can put a man in a certain position, can make a man change his feelings about his own self.
Right.
So I just wanted to definitely clarify that it is not a one man or one way show when it comes to stress. But on this topic, we are talking about
Yes.
men's health. So I definitely agree with Daryl as far as you know the acceptance piece. Every man wants to feel proud of you know what he's doing. I don't think anybody wants to be on this earth just
So
doing.
I,
Right.
I'm gonna, I'm gonna take a position where I'll go on both sides and I'll land in the middle. So,
Okay.
so Daryl basically said, there's pressure there
Yeah.
for men, and us men, we have a fear of finding out what it's gonna feel like. For example, if our partner, knew what it was, so we just keep quiet more, like we'll keep it more to ourselves. We just want to look perfect, in quote, right?
Hmm.
And guys, please, whenever we say men or women on this conversation, we're not saying totality. We're not saying 100%. We're
Oh,
just saying
yeah. I give that
probably major.
disclaimer.
Right.
This is, yeah.
Because people get offended with, oh, no, it's not all women. It's not all men.
Right.
We're just speaking on, a certain number or, maybe a decent number. With that being said, right, let's be honest and let's just call a spade a spade. Yes, women feel pressure, but the kind of pressure men feel, and I will tell you the difference, and this is why I'm going to land in the middle. The kind of pressure men feel is very, very different. We all feel pressure, we just feel it differently. And the spade that I'm about to call a spade is you will know. It takes only this few of the women that really hold on to, whatever they're feeling to where you don't even have an idea. Women will either express it by not speaking too much, but they're gonna wear it, or they will verbally say. The difference is you will wake up feeling the pressure to almost pass out, and you still keep a straight face like nothing is happening. That is man, right? Because we have a big fear of even letting our partners, our family, our friends know that we're going through this thing, because we feel like, you know what, we can figure it out. But while I'm figuring it out, I don't want to look like a failure. I
Mm,
don't want to look like I've applied for these many jobs and I'm just not getting none. I don't want to look like I'm not able to pay this bill next month. Let me see. I'm gonna figure it out. So we just keep a
right.
straight face. But the moment our partners walk away, we holding our heads on like, okay, what am I doing next? Where am I going next? Who am I calling? That's where it differs for a man. So as much as a woman feels pressure postpartum, oh, she's either giving you the mouth or she's giving you the attitude. You understand what I'm saying? Like
Right.
women
We
are just naturally,
communicate.
yeah, women
We
will
go
not hold back too much.
communicate.
It's only that much women that will not. But men,
Right.
I mean, that's why it shocks us when you hear that an able, good looking, healthy looking man all of a sudden just ends it all.
Right. Right.
You get what I'm saying? So it's
Right.
like, and people are sitting down there like, how, why, what happened?
Mm,
And the only few ones that we may know what have happened is the ones that may write a note and let us know, okay, you know, I've been frustrated, I've been going through this. For the most part, you will never have an idea, because men are just raised, you know, to again, once again, to be strong in all
right.
positions. So you don't want to look like that failure, so you're not saying too much. So, you know, the middle part for me is that
Right.
yes, women feel pressure, yes, men feel pressure, we feel it differently. The only difference is they are more, you know, women are more verbal, men are likely to keep it to themselves more.
Right.
And that's why we're talking about this right now, because that's where the real harm is, right? That's where we're hurting
Yeah.
ourselves. That's where we need to learn to be not weak but vulnerable. It's okay.
Right. And to be honest, I mean, I look at and yes, we're I wanted it to really be about men. Women, I don't want to take it away from women. I don't want us to focus and say, oh, distress. Let's focus on men because men never get this attention.
Hmm.
Some way, somehow, women we wiggle ourselves in it. So I wanted, even personally, right? When I was gonna do this, I thought about my childhood. I thought about my upbringing. At least 2 out of 3 here know my family, know my brothers. And to be honest, when I think about my brothers and I think about my dad, they are the strongest men that I know. Like, I just,
Hmm.
I don't even think, this is going to sound so bad because I think they're even on this live. I don't even think they go through mental health. I'm like, what do you mean? They got it. They, especially my dad, right? But as I've gotten a little bit in the last couple of years, seeing how many people depend on my dad and how many people look up to him for so many things, it made me sit back and be like, dude, this guy got his own stuff going on, but yet everybody comes to him. But I really did not, I still honestly, deep down inside, I look at my brothers and I'm just like, they're strong. You're right. They got it together. They're educated. I call them for advice. I look at my husband and I'm just kind of like, this dude's got it. But now, I'm learning that they got it. You guys got it, but there's still a certain level of fear of where you guys cannot share when you don't have it. And I think that's what makes me sad is
Hmm.
that you all could be suffering and going through so much pressure and you don't feel comfortable or you don't feel like it's safe for you to share, especially if you're married or if you have a significant other, to for them to be able to help carry that burden. Women were helpmates. So why not allow us to help you guys?
So I think everything you just said there is added stress. I mean, you explained exactly what it is. You're even talking about someone who's supposed to be your running mate, your brother. You're supposed to
Hmm.
be vulnerable with him, but he can't even be vulnerable with you because you have this expectation of him.
Of him.
Hmm.
That's
Hmm.
those are things that are when I
Oof.
talk about societal, let's just say norms or stereotypes. Those are things that happen, and people don't even realize that
We
we are
don't.
setting that. that stage. We are setting that expectation.
Mm.
Um, you talk about your dad. I mean, my dad. I'm sure I know he's under so much stress, and you can look at him and say, you're a successful man. You should be relaxing now." It doesn't
Mm.
work like that, because once you've reached a point, there's no going back. It's always
Mm.
going forward. And I said that sacrifice for success. A lot of people don't realize that. I know, it's been said in multiple songs before. Let's call success money right now. More money, more problems.
Yeah.
When you are so successful, or once you reach a place, there is so much stress that comes with it. So if you can imagine mental health, the 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 opportunity for a person, a man cracking, an opportunity for a man breaking down only
Mm.
increases as he gets successful. He can do whatever he wants. He can go to gyms. He can, do therapy, which is great,
Right.
but at the same time, that stress level will continue to rise if that maintenance, back to that point
Mm.
earlier, if that maintenance isn't done continually. So
Hmm.
you can imagine us getting busy, us getting into our regular days.
Mm.
Um, you can say stress from family, stress from wife, kids are screaming every day. At the same
Mm.
time, you have this report that's due for the job, or you might
Right.
be uh, on the verge of losing your job. Your friends are judging you because you're not around as much anymore.
Mm.
You're not fitting in with that society now. You have new friends, and your new friends are on a level that you aren't on. That's all added stress, and
Hmm.
it's all created. It's self-created.
Yeah.
And I do believe that therapy, that whether it be lifting weights, talking to someone, does suppress that. Or I shouldn't say suppress. I should say release that
Release it.
stress.
Yeah.
Um, but at the same time, it has to be continual, and I think that that's a big thing that doesn't happen, is because we're not used to it. I can
Mm.
guarantee you that a lot of men have gone through some type of therapy session,
Mm.
whether it be yoga or talking to someone, and they felt that release.
Right.
But
Right.
we don't have anything that's set up for it to be a norm. It,
Consistent.
it's not consistent. And then that pressure, that stress
And,
just builds
and
there.
have you ever thought about why is it that men, maybe even when we're going through this stuff that can mentally break us down, the only part of it that we're able to discuss or we're comfortable discussing is how hectic our day was or how tired our body is, right? However, there is a bigger dark cloud in the back of our minds, right, that is making our minds spiral
Well,
towards
let
darkness.
I'm going to interrupt you there so that because
Hmm.
that's leading me to my next point. And I think
Okay,
someone
okay.
said it in the chat also. We women get together. We're talking. When we get together, even if we go to brunch, even if we go to, I don't know, if we're just talking on the phone, if we're stressed about something, we're like, oh my God, I can't believe someone, even if it's about another girlfriend and, we're having our girls, whatever.
Mhm,
We
mhm.
share, we're talking. When men get together, when you guys go out together, I know like one of my brothers and his friends, they go to dinner once every quarter or something like that, right? When you guys get together and it's just y'all talking, what are y'all talking about?
Good
Are y'all
question.
not talking about I'm
We
stressed?
we are. We are. But are we not talking to the same guys that were raised the same way we were raised? How are we gonna help one another? You got to think about it, right? When I'm talking to my friend and I'm telling my friend, like, look, dude, it's gonna be tough at home. I don't even know what to say to my wife. My friend is probably gonna tell me, guy, figure it out, though. Don't let her know. She might leave you. She might see you as a weak guy. She might see you as less of a husband. You get what I'm saying? Like, my friend is likely to advise me to, guy, chill out, just find a way to figure it out. Then tell me, look, call her, sit her down, and be vulnerable. If you need to cry, cry. My friends probably won't tell me that.
Nate,
And
would your
again,
friends, Daryl, would your friends, what would your friends tell y'all? I
Go
want to
ahead.
know.
I think that I have chosen some set of, a set of friends. I wish I had more, but sometimes you can't tell your business to too many people, because I also have
Hmm.
struggled with believing that some folks are my friends when they are
Mm.
not, and that's a whole separate
That's a whole.
lie.
That's yeah. That's another segment.
But that is something that I have struggled with,
Hmm.
where, um, and maybe that goes back to my childhood and acceptance and vulnerability, where, I don't have a problem. I'm an open book. I've always been an open book. I'll tell everybody everything except the things that I know were going on in my house. But I'm thankful that I do have some friends and I do have outlets. I think that's an important thing too,
Good.
is to have a positive outlet. Um, One of those for me is golf. And the cool thing about golf is that it takes about 4 hours, and you tend to be around three other men.
Right.
And it's a time where, we can kind of get to know each other. And it's tough because you're also focused on this game. But if you're with the right people, um, it can be a vulnerable, session where we do talk about the things that are ailing us. And I do have friends that will call and check on me. Full transparency, this season of my life, the last 2 or 3 years have been the absolute worst season of my life.
Mm.
I cannot even begin. I would need four different lives to explain the things that have happened to me in the past couple of years. And I'm thankful that I have some friends that will reach out to me and say, "Hey, it's been too long. How you doing?" And or say, "Hey, let's go play golf so we can talk about how you doing." But to your point, men, we don't necessarily have the natural outlet. I don't have the brunch that my wife has. I don't have the book clubs that she has. They
Yeah.
don't even read a damn book. They just get
We sure
together
don't. We
and they,
don't.
yeah, it should be an audio book club. They should call it the audio book club.
Yes. We are the book club. We
And
are.
then they get together and then they talk. But it's
Yeah.
a great outlet for her. So I think I say all that to highlight the importance of having a positive outlet and having a designated, vetted group of people
Yes.
that you trust. Because I have learned the hard way, everybody ain't your friend.
No.
And everybody isn't a therapist, believe that or not. And
Right.
some people are not educated to give the advice that a therapist would. So
Right.
a lot of times,
So there, your friends are being therapists to you, right? But are they also advising you, since you're a married man, to, you know, take it home, just pour it on the table and be vulnerable. And if you have to cry, just cry to your wife. And,
yeah,
like, will they go that far, or is
yeah.
more of, look, I'm going to be here for you, I'm going to encourage you, and I'll check up on you,
I think it's
like,
it's that too. And to your point, I think you said earlier, Solomon, that it's hard to have transparent relationships with people with vastly different backgrounds. And I think to
Mm.
a to an extent that's true, because you do the more someone is like you, the
More
the
you
the
relate
the
to.
likelier it is that they have similar experiences. But at the end of the day,
mhm,
everyone, no matter your background, is going to have different
Hmm.
experiences. But I
right,
think, to your point, I tend to gravitate towards family men with kids. Like, we can talk about those things. I had a friend
right,
today that was asking me questions about, um, getting snipped, and that's a very vulnerable conversation that some men don't
mhm,
want to have. I happen to be a big proponent of vasectomies, and I will be happy to direct anybody, you know, to my,
To your doctor, your
yeah.
urologist.
Yes, because it's I think it's important, and it's helped me in my life and my marriage, and anybody can.
Mhm.
But I had a friend who reached out to me like, "Hey, I got some questions." And those are vulnerable questions,
Yeah.
right?
right,
So you have to be able to be vulnerable and then accept vulnerability from others as well too. And I want to say one more thing that was brought up
Yeah.
earlier about men having postpartum depression,
Hmm.
which may sound crazy to some
No, it's
people,
not.
but when I started therapy, an it is not a coincidence that my therapy background is as old as my oldest child.
Mm.
I've been going to therapy for as long as my oldest kid has been alive. And it's
Oh wow.
because I realized my life changed at that point. Who I was never the same again. And that means my stress levels, my anxiety, the things that made me anxious changed the day the
Mm,
baby was born. And yes, I didn't go through the physical, emotional, chemical things that my wife did. And I have so much respect for her having to navigate those things and the anxiety that I also feel like I go through. But I think men have a different set of postpartum triggers and chemical issues that happen to us, you know, within that season. And the last thing I'll say is I think that humans, men and women alike, we operate like machines. I said that earlier, but we're also like cups. And we talk about that spiritually too, whether your cup is overflowing or
Yeah.
your cup, or we call an optimist someone who thinks a cup is half full, and a pessimist someone who thinks a cup is half empty. Our lives are like cups. We're like reservoirs that we have the ability to pour into others and to receive whatever that may be. And I think that the what changes postpartum is somebody else is drinking from your cup, right?
Mm.
There's other mouths
Yeah.
literally that are taking from.
Literally.
And the reason why and conversations like this are so important, and the reason why vulnerability is so important and having a community is so important is because if my cup is empty, if I'm not sustaining my peace, then when I come home and when I'm with my kids, the version that they get is not the best. It may not be the best version. And that's my
right.
desire. It's the single reason why I sought mental health professionals, was because I realized who I was becoming to my children, to my kid.
Mm.
I only had one kid at the time, but I realized the kind of person that the kid was seeing, and I just wanted to stop it right there. And if I didn't seek the help proactively, then the version of me that my child would experience is not the version of me that I would want to experience if I were her. And so it's the single reason why these conversations are important, because we operate as reservoirs, right? And if our mental health is not being maintained and sustained, then we are operating from an empty cup. Therefore, we
Hmm.
cannot pour into others. And then we'll be able to even be more vulnerable because we can receive anything, right? If you have an empty cup, that means even bad advice you might be more apt to take. So that's my spiel on that
Thank
piece.
you for that. Nate, I want to hear from you. What y'all talk about? What y'all doing? Y'all, I know y'all not in a book club. You're not going to brunch.
We're
Uh,
O2.
nah. uh, I'll be honest. I'm pretty much like Daryl. When I met Daryl, I don't think we had children at all,
Mm-mm.
Mm.
and we clicked off the top. Um, I'm a very honest person, open book. It could be a gift, it could be a curse, but when it's a gift, it's beautiful.
Mm.
When it's a curse, it can be hidden, like Daryl was saying. And I've been through some shit when it comes to friends, to where I would say I'm not as vulnerable because the people that I was vulnerable with have hurt me, to where I don't know who I can trust. So
Mm.
even though I do develop new friendships, I do believe that there's a filter. There's some
It's
gatekeeping
a wall.
until
Yeah.
you get to a certain place, you know. And then even when you get to that certain place, I think Solomon was trying to get to this is like, sometimes we will have the talk, but it's a talk of sharing the same experience,
Mm.
not so much of what to do. It's
Mm,
just it makes you feel better that you're not alone,
You're not
because
alone.
right.
men
Right.
operate alone.
Hmm.
And if you think about, let's just talk about animal society. Think about lions and these masculine type of animals. This is how they operate. Uh, they some of them they might be in a pride, but do you see the men together? No, the
Yeah.
men are separate.
Mm.
They're followed by women. or women are surrounding them. Um, it's kind of the same thing with humans. I would say men, we take somewhat of pride of operating on our own. If we can get things done on our own and not depend on someone, I
Yeah.
think it actually makes us feel great, feels accomplished without depending on someone. But back to the to answer your question, I I don't think things are being discussed in the manner of what to do, at least not in my circle. And I
Mhm.
will also say in my circle, it's pretty tough because I would say I'm the break. I am the one that broke through. So I
Mm.
do a lot of the pouring.
Right.
I do a lot of the pouring.
Mm.
And even to my friends, I'm trying to uplift them and get them to think outside the box because I know where I come from.
Right.
And I'm not saying I know where I come from as in Nigeria. I'm talking about I know where I come from as in Mission Bend, Texas.
Right.
And the type of foolishness that was going
Yeah.
on, I still got some people still in that
Mm.
mindset to where I try to pour into. But then I turn around and I look, and no one's pouring into me because
Mm.
it's tough. Not too many people can pour into me.
Mm.
They look at me and they may think that we talked about success earlier, and when you're successful, a lot of people think that they can't do anything for you.
Mm.
But I will say that the best thing that someone can do is pour into somebody. So I try to do that myself while looking for others to pour into me. But I will say pouring into my cup has been very seldom. And it's
Mm.
something that I desire, I look for to where I try to start clubs, I try to start speaking sessions, safe spaces, things of
Yeah.
that nature, so men can feel comfortable. Because that's something that I'm very passionate about, something I really want to get into is getting men to feel comfortable to handle mental health in stressful situations because I am jealous of women. I get to see
Wow.
But
I get to see my wife and her community,
Right.
and I just can't believe it. The
but
way that women support each other, the way that women talk to each other, it is
Yeah.
ridiculously different than what men do.
but do you see what just happened here? How out of three of us, two people actually are in that spot where, yeah, you have friends that you talk to, but it's not really like solving the problem. It's more
Right.
like,
Sharing.
sharing, right?
Yeah.
Just so you're not bottling it in. While you were speaking, a few things came to my mind and I kind of jotted this down, right?
Oh,
So the
y'all writing
first,
notes. Oh, this
yeah,
is gonna be
no,
a
no, no,
whole
no,
therapy session
no.
over here.
So the
Dara
first
started. Now you writing notes.
the first thing says mentally draining issues, right? So this thing is like a trigger effect. The mentally draining issues is the beginning of it all, right? Certain
Mm.
things that are happening, and then you just start like getting to that point. Then the second part is you put yourself in a bad spot, right? And
Mm-hmm.
it's very hard to get out of. Then you start being hopeless, right? That hopelessness is where most of us stop, and that's why we're still here. Because after that hopelessness, you start feeling worthless.
Mm.
And once you get to the point where you're feeling worthless, that is like deep level of depression, and that's when suicide comes in,
Right.
right? So most of us usually stop at that hopelessness, but still
Mm-hmm.
hanging on to something. It could be that little conversation we're having with our friends. It could be that we're hoping that, for Christians that believe that miracles will fall from the sky one day,
Mm-hmm.
um, you know, you start getting hopeful a little bit. But right there is where most men, believe this or not, right there is where most men actually stay hanging. If you go one more step down,
Then
you may
that's
never come out of it.
right.
You get what I'm saying? So I'm glad you talked about that. I was just thinking about that while you
Yeah.
were
And
talking.
Nate, you said something that I think was really good was, you're at least first of all, Solomon, you need to change friends. All of y'all need to change friends. But
No, no, no. I
there,
would never, I
I'm
would never
joking.
change my friends.
I'm
I love my
joking.
friends
Oh
to
my
death.
gosh.
Love them to
But
death. We're all in the
Nate
same
brought
boat.
up a
I'm
good
just joking.
point. Nate was talking about how That's why now you're trying to do different groups. You're trying
Mm-hmm.
to, find a space. So you're almost seeking it, right? You're kind of like, hey, my cup is empty. And
Mm-hmm.
you do a great job pouring, because I know you, but we don't talk often, right? We I think this year we've seen each other once. We may see once a year at a wedding or something
Yep.
like
Yep.
that. But I reached out to you, and even when the way you said yes, you were like, tell me whatever it is that you need, I got you. You were like, I was still trying to give you an intro, right? I was trying to be like, let me tell you what the hell. He's like, get to it, girl. What you want? I was like, oh, let me chat GPT my intro, but you're pouring, and that shows the type of person you are. And so to me, it's like you're seeking for someone to pour into you. And it breaks my heart that most people, most men don't have the solution. And I want to circle, or I want to go up to our fathers, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we've all kind of talked about our fathers having some kind of pressure and things like that. But it's almost like, how are men supposed to learn? African men, non-African men, men, because I've seen this in various cultures too. How are men able to learn to help solve versus just relate? Because I mean, if you look at a majority of someone doing something, you have to look like, okay, there's more to it than them just not wanting to do it. It's just how men are created. And so now I'm thinking, if men cannot solve it, are you guys open to women helping to solve it? Or do you feel like because we cannot really relate, we cannot help solve?
We,
We
I've
can't.
never felt that way. I've only ever had women therapists. Maybe once I had a male therapist, but he was too busy, so I could never get on the schedule. But I actually
he's
see
going through a lot.
he must have been going through a lot. But I prefer female therapists.
Mm,
Um, I feel for some reason or another, it's just easier to talk to women.
mm,
It's easier to be more vulnerable with women for
yeah.
me. And then I feel a little bit less judgment
Mm,
saying the things that I may not even tell the homies or someone sworn to secrecy. Um, I've just I've just always I
less
don't feel
pressure.
yeah, I don't necessarily need to relate, and I also gravitate more towards um, you know just very highly educated people who I know who are seeking the highest levels in that craft, and it tends to be Black women in this
Right.
space, and that's why I would rather, I that's who I gravitate to. People who can, I can talk all day, but I need someone to shut me up with
And
some
give.
with
Yeah.
some academics,
Let me ask you, Daryl, is that similar to your mother?
Hmm.
Yeah, but I've always been able to talk to my mom very openly, and maybe that could come from that. Um, but I don't know what it is. I don't know necessarily if it's because of the relationship that I had with my mom makes me because my wife and I communicate very openly. She's not as good of a communicator, but we don't have a problem with communication per se. So I don't know what it is. I just think that um, maybe it's a softer landing spot. When I
Yeah.
say something that's extremely vulnerable, when a woman, when my therapist, who is a woman, gives me her thoughts, it's maybe it comes from uh, a,
Nurturing. Someone said nurturing in
yeah,
the
just
chat.
a softer place. I don't know. I don't know what
So
it
how
is.
is that? And Yemers 26 is asking the same question I have in my head. How is that easier than speaking to your wife?
I had that in mind too.
Yeah, I
I,
don't think
I
it's
had that in
easier.
mind.
Why?
You don't live with your therapist.
Yeah, I don't, and my therapist, yeah, my therapist
Yeah,
doesn't judge, and I'm not trying to impress her or trying to, you know,
Expectations are none.
yeah, it's just, yeah.
Okay. We
And
have a, y'all.
I
We
have
have a
a I
lot.
have a I have a conflicting belief system on that though, because see, for me
Mhm.
personally, I feel like at the end of the day, a therapist can tell you everything and you can bring all that energy home, right? However, if you still don't feel that comfort at home, how do you carry out what you learned from therapy? So for me, I'll take the flip position, and the flip position is I would love for my wife to be my therapist, and that's why I would love to be with someone that tells me to speak up rather than man up.
I think
Because
I
because
think a woman being I think your spouse being your therapist is tough. I think that's tough. And I think she doesn't have to be your therapist to tell you to speak up.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
so here's the tricky part. What does the therapist do?
you
What do
have to
they
go to
do?
therapy. It looks different for everybody. You have to
Exactly.
experience therapy for yourself. And what you're seeking out of the therapy is different from what Daryl is seeking. It's different from what Nate is seeking. Nate's background, what the therapist brings out of Nate is different from the same therapist bringing out of Daryl, bringing out of you.
Mm-hmm.
So it's almost like it's something that you have to experience and truly experience. And I'm not even offended that you said, well, you rather talk to your therapist than your spouse, because I know there are times where, hey, my husband wants to talk to me, and maybe I'm going through my own stuff, and my response shut him down without even him even sharing. And that's because
Mm-hmm.
I'm not trained to do this. So I'm on me most of the
Mm,
time. But
mm,
I think it should be separate. Just like I think men should have their men friends and women should have their own. I
mm.
think everyone should have their own therapist. Go
If
ahead,
I go
Nate.
back, if I go back to some of the conversation that we had initially, a therapist is not in your circle. A
Yeah.
therapist is not, and we talked about your circle. It could be your parents, it could be your family,
Friends,
it could be
family.
friends, but there's a expectation. With a therapist, there is no expectation. So it is easier for you to communicate, for you to drop whatever information, whatever's on your heart, and walk away. If you could do that inside of your circle, that could either be used against you, it
Yeah.
could be hung over your head. You could feel
Mhm,
already before even sharing that information that, this person is no, I can't do it with this person because I
mhm.
know them. That's what a therapist allows you to do. It's stepping outside of your comfort circle area and being vulnerable because you know that there is no one to judge you.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
think that that's the
I can
most important part.
I
So, but
completely
I have
agree
a
with that.
question.
And I
I
think,
have,
real quick, one thing too that reminded me of is my black woman therapist makes it easier for me to have and start conversations with my black woman wife,
Yeah.
right? And in therapy, hearing her perspective on my perspective of my problems, there's a lot of times where after my session, I'll be able to start a conversation with my wife and say, hey, man, my therapist said XYZ. What do you think about that? And it helps us start a conversation, and having her unique experience and unique perspective helps me start conversations at home. That's why I like it.
The one time I did have a therapist, it was a male, and I
Oh.
made sure that it was a male. I made sure that it was a black male because
Mm.
I needed someone that I could talk to and could hear what I was going through and understand my perspective. Because if it was a white male or a white woman or a black woman, I don't believe that they could provide me what I needed at the time. I had to I had to have a male there because I was actually questioning my situation.
Mhm.
Like, is this really
Wow.
happening to me? Am I feeling right? Am I
Wow.
feeling
mhm,
wrong?
Yeah.
So I do believe that it's all situational. It
Yeah.
is all
Right.
situational. But at the same time, I will stand on the fact that it should be someone from outside.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
one thing I was able to do was walk away from that therapist and know that shit. I told
You
you
talk about
everything.
Yeah.
You don't know me. You
you
might
don't
see
know
me.
me.
All right. One thing for me, I think that I appreciate the validation of my feelings from
Mm.
women more than I require and appreciate the validation of my feelings from men. Like
Yes.
for a man to tell me I see you and I feel you and I understand you, I get that, and that's nice. And it's you know, especially from my friends, but from my black woman therapist, when she says your feelings are validated and you have the right to feel that way, for some reason that the validation of my feelings from her, I think, tend to carry more weight. But I agree
Wow.
100% with you, Nate, too. I've had black men therapists for that same reason, and I think that I just kind of
Well,
have
that's what
found a
I was
little.
gonna
They
say.
work for you.
Yeah,
It's probably situational too.
yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
point
Because
is, get you a therapist if you don't have one.
Period.
So so the reason why I said what I said earlier, right? While it might be a very rare situation and maybe it may not be advisable, but would it be very cool? Would it be nice to actually have a wife that you can be as open with, or let me say a spouse that you can be as open with as you'll be open with your therapist without any judgment, without any issues? That's a question, to be honest. Would it be cool?
of course,
The reason why I'm saying that is genuinely, and I know that this will shock you guys. But then again, I brag about this everywhere I go. That when I tell you I grew up differently, I grew up differently. I think my mom was my dad's therapist
Mm.
for a fact. Like I saw her being a wife, respecting the hell out of this man, but straight also being his therapist. Like, because my dad was just all over the place. Cool guy, doesn't think anything is a big deal, doesn't. But she just knows how to like, okay, babe, calm down. This. He said that's a
But you don't
fantasy,
know. You
but it's
say
rare.
that
It's
based
rare.
from
I get it. It's
that,
rare.
but
you got to
that's
know
not
what
rarity.
happens in a
That's
marriage
comfort, and that's
is
what a
only
marriage
them two.
is.
Yeah,
That's exactly what a marriage is.
that's marriage.
Is you look, you got your big powerful man that's gallivanting, right? And
Mm,
then you have someone who can bring him down, that can
Yeah.
control the
hmm
household. That's
Yeah.
exactly what's
Yeah.
happening.
Mm,
Within there is a lot of stress.
Yes.
So that's where we're talking about
Yeah.
utilizing an outside source.
Yes.
fair
I want to
enough.
transition
Fair
because
enough.
y'all, we can be on here a long time. I don't want to take too much evening. So I want to talk about individually when you are feeling overwhelmed and you are feeling super stressed and the pressure of the world. What do you do that's like, how do you handle it? Do you retract, meaning that you kind of shut off the word? What are some red flags us women can look at and say, okay, when my husband does this, something is going on? Because it sometimes takes us a while to see or to get that you guys are going through something, right? But for example, my husband, right? He's not on the slide, but I think he can hear me. When he starts moving a little different, my husband's super, super, super sweet and super nice and very just understanding. And then when he starts being like not really understanding, I'm like, dude, like before I used to get mad, like, what do you mean? Like normally it's so easy, you would do it. Then it took me a while to be like, okay, something's going on with him. For him to not be himself, I'm not quick to be like, oh, what's going on? I'm just like, okay, something is up. So I kind of stay back. And eventually, some things he would tell me. Some things, he has his circle that he speaks to and he's able to come out of it. But that's how I notice that he's going through something. It's like his whole
Mhm.
demeanor changes, right? What is it for you all? What changes within you that your spouse, your significant other can say, oh yeah, Nate's going through something. We're going to back up. We're going to let daddy have his daddy time for like 2 days.
I can tell you back in the day, when we were dating,
Yeah.
I would smoke a black and mild.
I used to love black and mild. I like
But
the smell.
I mean, she did. I promise you, I'm
Yeah.
not a smoker. I'm not a smoker, and I would stress so much. I think
Wow.
one time my wife found me on the balcony trying to smoke a black and mild and hiding it from her.
Right.
But I've done things of. I used to be the type of person to just leave. the situation and shut down.
Mhm.
But as you grow older, you start to understand that you aren't in a relationship on your own. Some of the
Right.
things that can help you can trigger others. So I started to have to figure out what I can do to take care of myself. And I will say that that is something that I'm still discovering. I
Yeah.
don't know exactly what it is because I am the type of person to shut down. I
Yeah.
shut down to the world. I mean,
Mm.
I don't say anything. I barely say anything on, social media.
Yeah, you
Um,
definitely don't.
I mean, my text messages get dry. I'm straight to the point. And
Mm.
probably the only person that I talk
Mhm.
to is probably my mom calling, check on me and say, "What's going on?" Because I'm not as live as I'm used to. Uh,
Right.
that's that is the way that I react to, a lot of stuff going on in my life, and
Mhm.
I don't know if there is something yet that I can do. I know I try to like work out or do something like
Yeah.
that to blow off some steam, but I'm still searching for what that cure is for me. Don't have anything really.
I
Ooh.
think for me, it's lethargy, and it's a reclusive behavior because
Definition, definition, please, sir.
I mean, lethargy, just being more lethargic, more
Yeah, just
lazy,
not as
just
energetic, less
yeah,
energetic.
yes.
Yeah.
That's my tell, and my wife can seek that out. She can identify it. I'm an extrovert, and I enjoy people. It's one of the reasons why like I could never have a work from home job, right?
Me
Because I just
neither.
want to be around people, and I appreciate people. And sometimes in my valleys, my mental health valleys, my my tell is that um, I seek seclusion or even darkness, physical dark. Like I want to be in a dark room and turn on
Oh
movies and
wow.
just lay and I think that's kind of my tell. My wife knows that if I'm not um, getting vitamin D, if I'm not
Mhm.
outside, if I'm just reclusive, that's my big tell, and that's kind of when the flags go off, and I know it for myself, and that's kind of when I realize I need to go for a walk. I need to go
Yeah.
get some sunlight. I need to go exercise. That lethargy stops me from exercising, right?
Yes.
If I'm not feeling good about myself, what do I need to go pour into my body for? I don't
Mm.
have the inertia to just like work out every day. Some people just like, oh, it's the sun's up, I'm gonna go run. I'm like that's not who I am.
Right.
Um, that them weights be heavy. I ain't trying to lift them.
Yeah, it's
Um,
already heavy.
you know what I'm saying? So I think that that you know that those are my tells. Those are my flags when
Okay.
when that lethargy is increasing.
Kicks. Solomon, what's your tell?
Well, I'm surprised the two married men here didn't mention, spending some quiet time with your wife would help. But
This dude here.
but,
This how you know.
but hey, that really hey, don't they
That
say
should
that?
release something.
I'm serious. Don't they say that really stresses? But anyway, I just wanted to joke about that. But to be honest with you, I think see, and that's why you line up 10 women, you likely to get 10 different results and everything. You line up
Absolutely.
10 men, you're getting nine of the same thing. It's so funny how we're all similar. We're all shut down for the most part.
Hmm.
We get a little bit more sluggish, quiet.
Yeah.
We're just drained. The energy is out of the door. For me, there's multiple things that I can do. But before I just used to be quiet and just shut down and just, like a typical African case, start questioning God. Do you even exist? Why is all this happening? All that stuff, right? But of course, again, one of the upbringings, pray about everything, pray about
Right.
everything, pray
Right.
about everything. You say the prayer, sometimes do you feel any different? No. Sometimes something happens, you start relating them like, okay, it was the prayer that did it. Maybe not, maybe it did. But anyway,
Right.
um, But another thing that I noticed has helped me a lot is me opening up a little bit more. I have different friends for different things. I have
Right.
friends that if I want to party, I'm gonna call. Um, and I'm not saying this because she's here, but I'm gonna say this because it's the truth. Her brother is actually low key, you know, like one of the people that I would call if I needed to hear like some real life advice, or if I felt like something was going wrong, and I'll call him. And he just has a way of, I've been getting on him because he doesn't pick his call at the first ring anymore, but the guy has a lot going on. But I will usually call him and he will just talk you and just give you life
Yeah.
experiences and tell you how their uncles went through this and that. And then, after that conversation, it's just more like, dude, I need you to go try this or go get that or go do this. And I may end up not doing it, but I'll feel better, if that makes sense.
Right.
And
Right.
so, those are some of the things, maybe a little bit of tennis, but I think for the most part, most men just shut down.
Shut
That
down.
energy, we're just drained, and then we'll find one or two things that bring us back up. So
Someone
that's
said we
awesome.
need more. We need more. We all need the Olangodoys in our life. My brothers are really my therapists. I should
They
do
are,
better
man.
because they have their own stuff. Okay, I want to round up with one thing, and I will give you guys like 2 minutes each because this is a sensitive one, and I had to round up, but I want people to be able to hear it. We're probably
Mhm,
gonna have another session of this next year sometime if you guys are open to it, because I think from just watching the comments, I can't even go through the comments because so many people are loving what you guys are saying and they are
mhm,
appreciating and that they're saying thank you for this talk. This is needed. But I want to talk about something. Not only I wanted two things in common with all three of y'all. That obviously you were born a man and you are fathers, and you three are fathers. And I love it because Nate, you're a father of two boys. Daryl, you're a father of two girls. And Solomon, you're a father of one girl. And
mhm.
so I want to know, now that you guys are fathers, how would you teach your girls for their spouses or siblings if they were to have brothers, or what would you tell them about men's mental health? And for you that have boys, what would you teach your boys about men and mental health? Who wants to go first?
That's kind of loaded, but I think what's coming to mind is how much about men's mental health that I can't necessarily tell my girls, but I can show them through example, hopefully, what a healthy, a mentally healthy man is. And I think that comes whether you have boys or girls, right?
Right.
Because the ages of my kids, I know Nate's kids, I mean, they're really no different at this
They're
age,
not gonna,
right? They
yeah,
don't.
they're not gonna
My
get it.
my girls play with trucks and dolls, like they don't. They're
Yeah.
not. But having children is a responsibility, no matter the gender. Having children in general is a big responsibility, and so I think that what that responsibility entails is showing them through example, what a mentally healthy man is, and that comes through how I treat them, how I respect them, how I treat my wife, and how I how I seek help, how I seek, betterment, because
Right.
I'm not perfect, and I think telling them that daddy is not perfect,
Mm-hmm.
but or in I catch myself apologizing to my kids all the time, and
Mm.
I'll take them to the side and I'll say, hey, this is what daddy did wrong, and this is why. Even the 1 year old, she don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but if I know that I did something that doesn't respect her from my mental health, like from my perspective, whatever that is,
Right.
I'll apologize, and I think a big part of that journey of my journey is showing them that I'm not perfect, but that I'm always seeking
Mhm,
seeking betterment, and that they can always correct me. If my
Mm-hmm.
kid could say, "Hey, Daddy, that wasn't nice,"
Yeah.
or if I say something to my wife in front of my daughter that she perceives as not nice, she can always say, and I want to give her the space to say, hey, if you ever see me do something that's out of line, call me out and say, hey, daddy, that wasn't nice. And I think
Yeah.
that's how I want to empower them, is to call it out, no matter who it is, but especially call me out, because you know me better, and you know that they deserve the best version of me. And if I'm not giving it to them, then I'm not seeking the betterment that I'm responsible
Mhm.
for, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Mm.
Look, be careful. These kids are AI kids. My daughter, Cheryl, will call you. She's 3 going on 33. She would let me know about my life. Go ahead,
Nah, for
Solomon.
real. Well, it's so funny you asked that question because so I'm currently traveling for work,
Mhm.
and so I have a routine where I call my daughter every night right before I sleep. But this show kept me up, um, and so I called her right before this because I know right after this I'm jumping in that bed, I'm gone, right?
Right.
And when I called her, I told her that because she want to stay on the phone and play some weird games. I'm like, "Dad, let's see who's gonna blink first. Let's see who's gonna do this." So I had to tell her like, "Look, today." I don't have time for that. I have to jump on a show. She said, "What's the show about?" Now, if you know about 8 year olds, they are that age where they ask questions about everything. What are you jumping on the show for? What kind of show? In our mind, oh my God, that is going to one funny show. So I had to break it down. No, it's not a show. It's like a podcast. It's, where we're talking about something. What are you talking about? I had to tell her men's mental health. What is men's mental? I swear she asked me all those questions.
Wow.
So I had to literally like break everything that I said. There are many men around that are going through a lot, but nobody knows. So
Hmm.
just be nice to people, okay? She goes, "Oh, okay, okay. So, but how do you know?" Let me call you
Right.
back. I got to get on this call. Okay.
Right.
So this really happened tonight. So I'm glad you asked that question. Well, it's very simple. Maybe not as simple, but um, I think it's okay to just bring up our children to let them understand that it's okay to listen and also communicate,
Hmm.
right? Because everything we're talking about, vulnerability, how do you show it? Because people can't just look at you and just know, right?
Right.
It has to be a point where you would have to speak.
Oh,
Life is tough.
right.
I'm going through a lot. It gets to a point where you have to say something, but then this is where we bring up our keystone. This vulnerability is not always or shouldn't be seen as a sign of weakness. Matter of
Right.
fact, on the flip side, it should be a sign of
Strength.
like, wow, I admire you for actually opening up. I actually admire you for saying this because I'm not used to hearing this or seeing this. So I feel like it's very important not to be judgmental and to also teach our kids not to be. And if we're raising boys, it's also important to tell them that, look, I want you to be manly, but it's okay not to be strong all the time. Sometimes when you need to be, to speak up, speak up. If you
Right.
need to show some, I don't want to use the word weakness, but I want to
Emotion.
say if you need to show some emotions or, whatever it is that people might see as a sign of, it's cool.
Yeah.
Just make sure you're with the right person and just, I think that's the easiest way to put it
Okay.
because everything is all about communication and just being vulnerable. That's it
Right.
for me.
Nate.
I can say with my two boys, if I look back at my past, I'm definitely breaking the mold. I'm not going the route of my father. Not saying that my
Mm,
father is not a good father. My father is
right.
definitely an excellent father, but there is a gap. There is a hole as far as when it comes to emotions, when it comes to vulnerability. This is something
Mhm.
that isn't there. I will tell you, I am 30. I'm 38.
Right.
Uh, I'm 38 years old, and I will tell you that it's still a struggle to even tell my dad that I love him,
Wow.
because it's just not the way we talk.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's not that it's not there that the emotion isn't there. It's just not the way we talk. But then I've also written and talked about this before. Is like, how would my life change if my father told me that he loved me every day?
Mm,
You know,
yeah.
just
Mhm.
simply, how would it change?
Right.
But to the point. My wife and I are raising our children to be very vulnerable, to
Yeah.
speak up, to have emotions, to be a person, and not
Mm-hmm.
feel the pressure of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they are in a blessed position. We work hard. We are
Yeah.
going through this struggle to allow them to do that, to so that when they get to a position they feel stress or they feel that they need something or they have to act out because they want to fit in a box or because they don't fit in the box. We
Mm-hmm.
are teaching them that themselves is enough. And this is
Mm.
what we harp on. Just the other day, I mean, just tonight, my wife came down from putting my oldest to sleep and I hear them yelling. I'm like, is he giving you a hard time? You know, I got this call coming on.
All right.
And she said, no, I'm teaching him how to respond to bullies. And I go, oh,
Mm.
that's what y'all yelling about. What do you say when someone says that they don't like your name? What do you say when, things of that nature? But at
Yeah.
the same time, we got, that's a tough side that she's giving him. But at the same time, my son does not leave the house without giving me a kiss.
Mm.
Me that he loves me. He does not go to sleep
Mm.
without doing that. And that's the same from all my children and even my wife. This is a staple in my house that we follow because emotions are real and this is
Yeah.
how we stay
Yes.
connected. I want my
Yes.
son and his brother to be best friends and
Yeah.
they give each other
Mm.
every night. They have to say good morning to each other when they see each other. If they've
Right.
been away from each other and they are just now seeing each other, they have to hug each other.
Yeah.
These are things that uh, are rules in my house, and these are rules of emotion to be
Mm.
vulnerable. It's not that I'm forcing something on you; I'm forcing you to be vulnerable, and this is something
Right.
that
I
I
like that.
will continue to do.
I
I like
love
that.
it. Ooh,
Yeah.
I love it. I mean, this has been really good. I want to say thank you to you three for being vulnerable and for being open and being transparent and just being informational because we're not men. No matter whatever society says and how people try to change, we still do not know. So
Yes.
hearing from men, listening to you three, to me has been amazing and has been really, really helpful to me. And I hope that the little you guys spoke tonight makes you guys feel some kind of better, right? I hope it allowed you guys to kind of share because you guys go through a lot. There's a lot that goes in here that you guys don't say out loud. And I
Mm.
hope this gave you guys a little bit of avenue to share your thoughts, to share your reasoning. I don't think one live is enough, clearly, because even if we break down little, that's a series, right? And I'm really thinking like Father's Day. I'm thinking so much. I'm thinking for 2026 of where I really want to get a man's perspective and really get us to understand um, our men in our lives. So I thank you three for spending your Monday night with me and being willing to share. And again, I know we didn't even scratch the surface of it. We didn't.
Right.
We would be here for 4 or 5 hours. Someone said this should be a month long. Yeah, it'll be a series on different topics: fatherhood, spouses, relationships. I
I
mean,
agree.
it's all in my mind, right? Because
Mm.
we need to, women, we can't just be better for our men if it's just us.
Mm-hmm.
Men cannot be better for their women if it's just y'all. We have to find a way to understand each other. We're so different. Men are
True.
completely different than women. But if we don't understand what brings us together, if we don't find that common ground, it's going to constantly be this, right? So we need to be more, less this and more like this, where we can all come together. So thank you all so much for being on the Health Hub with Dr. T. I hope you
Thank you.
guys had a little bit of fun, even though I was
Of
asking
course.
some questions.
It was good. Thank you for
Yeah,
having us, Tony.
absolutely. Will you guys come back if I ask you to come back?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. I have all your numbers now, so I can be like, hey, I'm penciling you in for 2026. But truly, I thank you all. I appreciate the insight from each and every one of you. I definitely think we'll have more conversations online. People enjoyed it. People want to hear more. People, they're able to relate to this. So I want to, this is who I'm doing it for. It's for people. So 2026. We got more lives to do. Thank you so much, Daryl. You
Let's
just
do it.
met me and you let me get all personal in your business.
Coach, I'm an open book.
I know.
He's
Thank you.
good
Yes,
job,
thank you,
Daryl.
Nate. Thank you
Thanks,
for
guys.
Thank you,
introducing
guys.
Daryl.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Solomon. I appreciate you
Thank you.
all.
You're
Have a
welcome.
good rest of your evening. Have a blessed week, everybody.
Yeah,
Thank
Thank
you.
you so
You
much.
too.
Bye, you
Yeah.
All right.
guys.
Bye.